is the most empowering book I have ever read in my life. I was just obsessed with it. Graphic, horrific, gory. What more could you want from life? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I thought I would talk about the best books that I have read so far in 2021. I'm a little bit late to the bandwagon with this one. I feel like it should have been done sort of midway through the year, but we're doing it now. It's fine. Things are never done at the right time in the correct order on this channel. We know that. It's fine. But yeah, I have compiled a few of my favourite books that I have read so far this year. I've tried to keep it quite small, so I restricted myself to 5 books and 5 books only. There are a few books that I am very sad to be leaving off of this list, but I wanted to try and keep it as short and sweet as possible. Just a quick chat about some of the best books I've read so far this year. So I have 5 books to talk about of varying genres, varying sort of styles. Just 5 of the books that really stood out to me so far this year that I have continued to think about or continue to recommend to others or just remember having the best time with. So without further ado, let's talk about the 5 best books I have read so far this year. So the first book that I'm going to talk about probably comes as absolutely no surprise to anyone. If you've been watching my channel for a little while now, you'll know this is one of my favourite books of all time, and it became that basically as soon as I started reading it, and that is The Once and Future Witches by Alix Harrow. This book takes place in 1893 when there is no such thing as witches. There is stories of old witches in Salem which is being burned at the stake, but there is none anymore as far as we are aware. What we do have is the suffrage movement that is taking place at this time to try and get women the vote and just get women more rights in general. Obviously, if you know anything about women's history, you'll know a lot about the suffragette and suffragist movements. And 3 sisters, James Juniper, Agnes Amaranth and Beatrice Belladonna, the Eastwood sisters, join the new suffragists of New Salem, and when they do this, they begin to pursue the forgotten words and ways that might turn the women's movement into the witches movement. That's basically all you need to know. It is kind of fantasy, kind of historical, but it is the most empowering book I have ever read in my life. The characters in this are so strong, so full of passion, so full of power, and everything that is talked about in this just makes you feel so proud and so strong as a woman. I absolutely adored this book. Not only is it beautifully told, beautifully written, we know I appreciate really good writing, it is a beautiful story, but it is just such a good feminist book. So if you have not read this one, I would highly recommend it. The next one I have to talk about also will probably come as no surprise to anyone if you've been watching my channel for a while, and that is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one I did not expect to love anywhere near as much as I love this book. I did do a full reading vlog or 2 on this. I think I read it over a couple of weeks, where I talked about how I had heard very conflicting things about this. A lot of people had said that it was very info dumpy. Some people said that it just wasn't their cup of tea at all. I adored this book. Like, I had a very real obsession with this book. It reminded me of the obsessions that I used to have when I was in high school with good vampire chick flick sort of stories, but this one was so much better. I fell in love with it immediately, and I think I didn't read very much at first, but when once I got into it, I was hooked, and I read this so damn fast. Like, it is quite a chunky book, but I read it really fast once I got into it. This one basically follows the character of Poppy, who is the maiden, which means she cannot be seen, touched, or spoken to or heard by anyone apart from like her very close sort of bodyguards and things until she ascends to the gods. But Poppy is a bit of a rebel, and she starts to fight the restrictions around her as anyone would if that was their sorry life. She then gets Hawk as her new sort of bodyguard, and there's a little romance that ensues there, and it is a very hot romance, let me tell you. And that's all you really need to know. It is very fast paced, it's very exciting, it is a completely new take on sort of vampires and werewolves to anything I have read before. I was just obsessed with it. Still need to read the rest in the series. Have heard very conflicting things about that, but for now, one of the best books I've read so far this year. The next book I actually read on my Kindle, and that was No Exit by Taylor Adams. No Exit, again, is one that I did not expect to love anywhere near as much as I did. I'm pretty sure it was like a Kindle Unlimited thriller, and I was just in the mood for a thriller, so I picked it up, expecting to just like have a good time with it, just your usual run-of-the-mill thriller. But no, it was incredible. It is a isolation thriller. Basically we follow the main character whose name escapes me, but she basically has to stop off at this rest stop when she is driving along the highway because of the snow. She stops off and her along with 4 or 5 other characters are all stuck there waiting for the blizzard to stop so that they can leave again. However, when she is there, she's getting out of her car and she realises that in the van next to her there's a little girl tied up and caged, and obviously one of the people who is at this rest stop with her is her captor. And then there's this very tense story that goes on as she tries to work out who it is that is holding this little girl and how to save the little girl without getting hurt herself. It is so tense. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat throughout the whole book, especially towards the end. I was having heart palpitations, praying everything was all going to work out. The twists and the turns in this book, honestly one of the best that I have read in terms of a thriller, and the ending was just absolutely perfect. So yeah, 100% the best thriller I've read this year and one of my top books of the year so far as well. The next book that I'm going to talk about will make a certain someone very happy, and the book that I'm going to talk about is Battle Royale by Koushun Takami. This one I read because of my good friends Spoops and Maddie's book club. I've been meaning to read this for so long but just never got around to it, and finally I did. I'm not gonna lie, I was hugely intimidated by this book when I first looked at it because it is hefty and I thought it was going to be incredibly dense and incredibly difficult to get through. I could not have been more wrong. Most people will probably know at this stage, but this book follows a group of high school students who are put onto an island as part of an experiment and forced to fight to the death, basically, with one sole survivor. That is the main premise of the book. It is what inspired the Hunger Games, but this is a much more graphic, horrific, gory novel than the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is like a more modern, muted take on it, I guess. This one holds no punches whatsoever. It is extremely graphic, but it is amazing. Like when I first read the first few pages, you're getting all of these names thrown at you because of this like obviously huge high school class that has been put on this island, and I was thinking, oh my god, I cannot remember any of these people. I remember texting Spoops and being like, do I need to remember all these names? Do I need to know who all these people are? But you really don't at all. You just go with it and the main names will stick out to you and stay with you, and those are the ones that really matter. It starts right up in the action. I'm pretty sure the first page is them on the island, like waking up and it all beginning. I'm pretty sure someone's head is chopped off or blown off within the first few pages as well. Like it properly starts with a bang and it does not stop the whole way through. I was on the edge of my seat, could not stop reading it. Just honestly one of the best books I've ever read, and I will 100% be rereading it in years to come. The final book that I'm going to talk about in this video is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This book. How could this not be on my list of one of the top books I've read this year? It's one of my top books ever, to be honest. It is the biggest heartwarming feel-good book ever. This book follows the character of Linus, who works for the Department of Magical Youth. Department in charge of magical youth, and he is sent on a highly classified assignment to a home for magical youth to determine whether this orphanage should stay open or whether the 6 children that are living there are in fact too dangerous to remain, I guess. So Linus arrives on this island. He is greeted by all of these curious, mysterious, magical children as well as their wonderful master of the orphanage. He basically stays with them and writes up a case for whether they should or should not keep the orphanage open. The book is basically about identity and acceptance and found family, and it is just absolutely beautiful. Like the children in this are the sweetest things. I think everyone has different favourites. My favourites were Chauncey and Theodore, so if you have read this book, you'll know who I'm talking about. If you have read this book, actually comment down below who your favourite child was. I would love to know. I'm always so intrigued by that. But this book is just basically the most beautiful love story, not only in the romantic sense, but in the sort of family sense. And I don't know how many times I was reading this book and I was just like, oh, literally. So good, so heartwarming, gave me all the fuzzy feels. As V.E. Schwab says, it's like being wrapped up in a big gay blanket. What more could you want from life? So that is it. Those are the top books that I have read so far in 2021. We have these 4 here and obviously the Kindle book as well. I have had such a good year so far reading wise. I've read so many 4 and 5-star books. I'm hoping the rest of the year will bring more of the same, and obviously there will be a video at the end of the year with my top books for the year. We will see if these ones remain on it, or maybe I should just do a whole new list, to be fair, and then I can just link back to this one. That's for another time. But if you did enjoy this video, then do please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe for more bookish content from me. Comment down below with any of your thoughts and feelings. I love you all, and I will see you in my next one.